बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। आज हम एक इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक पे बात करने जा रहे हैं। इस टॉपिक में ऑलमोस्ट एवरी एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन जो है यू विल बी आस्क्ड एट लीस्ट सम क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम दिस पोर्शन। सो we'll go straight forward to the vulcanization and try to finish this topic in the brief as much as possible. It's a very big topic, but anyway, I will try to sum up this in around 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. Vulcanization of rubber. So before start the vulcanization of rubber, what rubber is actually? It's a polymer जिसका मोनोमर हम जानते हैं। अगर हम नेचुरल रबर की बात करें तो अगर हम इसका नेचुरल फॉर्म की बात करें, नेचुरल रबर की, इसका मोनोमर इज बेसिकली दिस 2-methyl-1,3-butadiene। ये हमने पहले भी थोड़ा सा डिस्कस किया है। 2-methyl-1,3-butadiene. So you have CH2 here, you have one double bond here. So this is your monomer of natural rubber. फिर इसमें cis form भी होती है, trans form भी होती है. That cis form is basically the natural rubber we talk about. A trans form is that's called gutta percha. So this cis form, this natural rubber, it is obtained from the bark of the trees. It's a latex of a tree called as Hevia basilensis. Acha, when you talk about the synthetic rubber is basically, so we have synthetic rubber also. That is, instead of this methyl, we have here chlorine, that's chloride atom. So we have, it's called as a CH2. So we have 2-chloro-1,3-butadiene type system. So this is your synthetic rubber, this is your natural rubber. This is also called as isoprene, and this is called as a chloroprene. Now, ये जो रबर होता है, इसमें naturally क्या होता है, when you heat this rubber around greater than 300 Kelvin, यानी इससे ऊपर जब इस रबर को हीट करोगे तो we'll see it becomes sticky. It becomes soft. So it becomes soft and sticky. So the rubber becomes soft and sticky. Now, and likely when you lower the temperature, if you bring this rubber at a very low temperatures around less than 280 low temperatures. So what it does, it becomes brittle. So now it can break down like a chocolate, so it becomes brittle. So in order to modify its properties, in order to make it tough, in order to increase its tensile strength, in order to increase its resistance against the oxidizing agents, so what we do, we modify this rubber via a process that is called as the vulcanization. So vulcanization is simply is a process via which we can do is we can modify the properties of rubber. We'll heat this in presence of some reagents, particularly in presence of sulfur. So heating natural rubber or synthetic rubber, natural and synthetic rubbers both have this behavior similar, this behavior with respect to the temperature. So heating the rubber in presence of reagent like sulfur, so what that does, that improves its properties. For example, it becomes highly elastic. And for example, the elasticity of the vulcanized rubber. So after vulcanization, when we heat this in presence of sulfur, this natural rubber, so now new sulfur is called as vulcanized rubber. Now that rubber has got high elasticity. So these are some of the properties. That rubber has got high elasticity. Elasticity, I will not be discussing that much. It simply means how much the stress a substance can bear. अगर आप उस पर लोड आप डालें, आप उस पर स्ट्रेस डालें, तो ये कितना बर्दाश्त कर सकता है without getting undergoing the breakage. And likely then one more property, that is its more resistant to the organic solvents. जो natural rubber होता है, that gets dissolved in the organic solvents, non-polar solvents. It gets oxidized also easily. So, but when it gets vulcanized, it gets more resistant. इसका अब खतरा कम रहता है कि more resistant. It shows more resistance to organic solvents like benzene or non-polar solvents. Solvents like benzene, carbon tetrachloride and so on. तो ये भी इसका एक प्रॉपर्टी है. Likely जो it becomes more resistant to the attack by the oxidizing agent. So likely it is more resistant to the attack by the oxidizing agents. क्योंकि oxidizing agents क्या, they attack it and they destroy the properties of rubber. They convert this into something else. So it's more resistant to attack by the oxidizing agents. ठीक. So this is the basics of what actually the vulcanization does. So the process of heating natural or synthetic rubber with vulcanizing agents like sulfur, usually sulfur, to improve the properties, this is called as the vulcanization. So that process is basically called as the vulcanization of the rubber. ठीक. Now what actually happens when we heat this rubber in presence of sulfur? Okay, so that's our last concern. So what we do, we have natural rubber here. Fine, you can see the structure. 2-methyl 1,3-butadiene. So we'll heat this in presence of sulfur. When we heat this in presence of sulfur, you heat this in presence of sulfur. So what it does, sulfur makes, inside the sulfur it undergoes the cross links. It forms a 3-dimensional cross links. कहाँ पे? पहले इसका हम पॉलीमर बना लेते हैं क्योंकि ये मोनोमर है. So when it undergoes polymerization, it becomes like this. So we have here CH2. फिर यहाँ पे it has the polymerization through this side. This is polymerization. So this is your natural rubber, polymer. So when we heat this in presence of sulfur, so दो chains के बीच में cross linking आ जाती है. कहाँ पे आ जाती है? It's like this. So you can see these are the two chains. ये जो double bond है, it gets broken down. I'll show it here. The sulfur comes here. So sulfur basically now it works. It makes a cross linking here between the chains. So it becomes a 3-dimensional type of a structure. So this is what actually happens in nutshell in the vulcanized rubber. You heat the rubber, natural rubber or synthetic rubber, in presence of sulfur. जहाँ पे जो double bond होता है 1-2 position बीच में, so that gets removed and then you have this cross linking of double bond, this cross linking with the sulfur, and this has now that modified properties like high elasticity. It is resistant to the attack of organic solvents. Like other properties like water absorption property, that gets reduced. That's very important. Likely elasticity, because of this cross linking, that gets reduced. So elasticity and water absorption capacity of this rubber gets reduced, but tensile strength increases and it is less resistant to the attack of organic solvents or the oxidizing agents. So this is all about what happens in the vulcanization. Now in vulcanization, it depends कि कितना हम sulfur इसमें introduce हो जाए. If it undergoes from 1 to 5%, if it gets vulcanized in presence of, it like 1 to 5% of sulfur, it has a different property. Like if it gets vulcanized up to 45% also. So that this case it becomes more hard. It's more hard. It is slightly soft. It is less. So it is less improved means it is slightly soft. slightly soft. ये भी hard हो जाता है 5% से, but that is slightly soft still. But this 45% by weight with this type of vulcanization it becomes more hard. अदर एजेंट्स से भी हम सल्फर को जो है वल्कनाइजेशन, ये जो है रबर को वल्कनाइज कर सकते हैं, दैट इज सल्फर एंड सेलेनियम. सो वी कैन यूज सल्फर, सेलेनियम इन टेल्यूरियम से भी. सो दीज आर आल्सो the atoms or the elements apart from sulfur by which can be used for the vulcanization. So this is one portion of vulcanization. Now there is something more. Let us go without wasting our time. We'll go straight forward to our topics. So मैंने पहले भी कहा था कि हमने इस पूरी सीरीज में we're trying to give the basic concept, and जो entrance examination में हमें जरूरत इसकी होती है. Vulcanization हम कर सकते हैं दूसरे, that was one form in presence of sulfur. We can do it also using free radicals. We can do vulcanization using free radicals also. और free radicals generate करने के लिए हमारे पास एक reagent है, that is benzoyl peroxide, बहुत common. Benzoyl peroxide. So if we write the formula here, I can show it by C6H5, that is CO, so it becomes twice CO and twice oxygen. So this is your benzoyl peroxide, C6H5. It's like this. CO then oxygen, and then you have this twice, and then you have oxygen here. So this is benzoyl peroxide. So this basically gives oxygen. It generates that. It gives oxygen atom. So what it does, this benzoyl peroxide, if we have a rubber called as silicone rubber. So one quality of rubber, inorganic polymer, that is silicone rubber. That is silicone rubber. So that silicone rubber is basically, I'll just show the basic framework. It is, you have a silicon atom here, then methyl group from one side. This is another methyl group from here. So that silicone rubber, what it contains, the core structure, that's oxygen. Then one more silicon atom joined from here. So this is CH3, and then the process continues. So you have ये unit है that gets repeated in the silicone rubber. Now, when you heat this in presence of benzoyl peroxide, so what happens, that benzoyl peroxide, it gives oxygen, and then what that does, it makes the substance to undergo oxidation. So what happens actually ultimately होता ये है. So I will make another unit so that will give us the idea what actually this benzoyl peroxide does. So this is CH3 of other unit here that I am not showing. This is other chain of silicon rubber. So these are two chains, one and one chain. So what that peroxide does, it removes HH from here. So you will get SEH2 CH2 radical. And then it has, जब दो hydrogen निकल गई plus oxygen forms, water gets removed. Likely here also. So your radical here. So then it undergoes this bonding here because there are two free radicals. So this is how it makes the cross link now. So now you have this, it's called a vulcanized silicone rubber. So this is how the benzoyl peroxide can also do the vulcanization. Now we have one more last example where vulcanization can be done with the help of zinc oxide or metallic oxide. Okay, so that will be our last point. इसमें भी question आता रहता है. So third point, vulcanization with the help of zinc oxide. Okay, so third vulcanization, that is with the help of, my pens are not working now. So with the help of zinc oxide or metallic oxide, so उसके लिए what usually हम use chloroprene use करते हैं. So we'll draw the polymer of chloroprene. CH2 यहाँ से आपका C double bond C. This is the polymer of your synthetic rubber called as the chloroprene. जिसे हमने पहले discuss किया था. So this is the polymer chain. So this unit gets repeated. Now, so what that does, when we heat this in presence of zinc oxide, what happens? The next chain will come from here. So what it does in that